This is Mike and Sean with Talking Tickets. We have Matt Fuller, the head of ticket authentication with PSA tonight. Matt, thank you for coming on. How are you?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me, Sean. How you guys doing?
Excellent. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Matt, we thought he'd be a great guest to have on tonight. He reached out. They got some big things going on at the National. Like I said, we're about a month away. I know we keep talking about it. It'll be here before you know it. But so, I mean, Matt, what's going on in the world of PSA?
Yeah. Thanks again, guys, for having me. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. So next month, we're a little less than a month out. For the second year in a row, PSA will be doing on-site ticket authentication and grading at the show. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk like service levels, turnaround times, declared value, prices, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, let me pull up. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead.
I was going to pull up. Let me pull up kind of the new submission form. But yeah, go ahead, Sean, while I'm doing that kind of way.
So Matt, the last year was the first time that PSA started, right?
Yeah, first year we ever did it
for tickets.
Yep.
So how did it go? Were there any real hiccups or issues?
I'll say honestly, and I've told a lot of guys that sub last year, I thought it went off without a hitch. That it was a wild success. I mean, there was a lot of nerves across the board going into it, first time doing anything. And yeah, I mean, we've never implemented tickets in with cards, and cards is obviously like such a monster for PSA with on-site grading at the National. But I mean, the operation is incredibly impressive. And yeah, I mean, we did good. There were no complaints. Turnaround times were great during the show. Everybody I talked to was more than satisfied. So definitely looking forward to this year.
So if there was one thing you would change, can you think of anything that you would definitely do differently this year?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, just more volume. Just bombard us with tickets. I think because it's such an emphasis on, it's like time pressure and accuracy, right? For me and the rest of the team, knowing what people are going to submit ahead of time, I think would help us, right? Like we all talk, we're all collectors. If you plan on submitting at the show, and we'll get into this in just a second, if you have a ticket that's unique or you have a milestone that when you're in the online submission center, when you go to type in your description, if it doesn't pop up right away, we've either never done it or that's not what we call our default flip or label. But look, if you'd like to shoot that to me ahead of time and just let me know, hey, I plan on bringing this, obviously that's not, hey, your ticket's real. Okay, we'll verify that. But once we do that, if I can pre-make the label and we can have that done ahead of time, it'll be a huge time saver for you guys and myself. But yeah, slightly selfish ask, but however you guys want to handle it.
So in other words, if somebody has a ticket that has a ton of research, do the research ahead of time.
Yeah. And if you can tell me you plan on bringing it and,
right,
we can verify it's true and pre-make a flip. Yeah. I mean, that's no issue.
When you say shoot you that info, like message you on Facebook or through PSA?
Yeah. I mean, however you guys want to get it to me. I know a lot of you guys, we either text or Facebook or whatever. Just get it to me, get it to Steve Lee if you'd like, if you have a good relationship with Steve. So Steve and I will both be at the National. It'll be him and I tag teaming all the authentication and research for every ticket that comes through.
Man, the Titans together, Steve and Matt.
We're trying.
Yeah. So yeah, this whole online the submission at the National, that's one thing. I don't know how, but last year it totally passed me by. I didn't realize the value you can get if you have some high dollar tickets. And I was digging into it more for this year. I was kind of blown away on how much you could save. So I kind of pulled this up. This is basically the submission form with PSA. You go to new submission. You see right here, online submission or on-site show submission, right? Yep. So you're going to submit at the National. You just click this. And it goes through the typical, tickets, select continue, just like you're going to get them graded, typical grading. Hey, I just want to get my ticket graded, no auto, nothing else. Select and continue. And this is kind of shows you right now, okay, here's the pricing. And it starts at 5,000, 10,000. And of course, if you're going more than 10K, how much they'll charge you. And of course, if you have tickets that are worth $50, $100, $200, it may not be worth your while. But man, if you got some high dollar tickets, you have more than one, it might be worth your trip alone just to come out there and get them graded. Because I did a little comparison. See if I can find a little comparison. So here's like a regular pricing. So, you have your value economy, all that, the regular pricing, but national pricing for the Express for $5,000 value ticket is $100. For normal, it's $149. When you go bigger, we're talking about a Big Daddy ticket, $10,000. They're charging you $200. Super Express, $300, and then if you're going Super Big Daddy, $300, where it goes all the way up to 10 grand, $5 grand for, you're talking a $50,000, $100,000 raw ticket that you have. Now, Grant, I mean, did you have any of those last year? Like any crazy tickets come get graded through there?
Yeah, I mean, we had, so the biggest difference from last year to what it'll be this year is the declared value. I mean, this is a massively customer friendly weekend we're going to have in Cleveland, right? So last year, the only thing, I mean, I don't want to say unfortunate, but just there was a few items that were submitted, and those customers had declared a value, and then when the product was finished and it was graded and ready to be picked up, the results team had kind of bumped that up. So if you thought, I can't remember the exact prices off the top of my head last year, but I think we went all the way up to $600. So say you submitted at that $600 level, which declared value was capped, and if it was worth, again, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but if they declared it at say 10,000 and then PSA thought it was worth 18,000, right? Then just like a normal submission that you guys have probably been through yourselves, you're going to get upcharged. So this year, just to avoid that, kind of hassle and just a better customer friendly experience at the show, we decided at that $300 level, Mike, that you just had pulled up, we're not going to cap it. So anything at $300 worth 10K or more, you're not going to get resulted. It's $300, which is, anybody that is familiar with PSA and that is subbed big tickets to PSA, I mean, this is a once in a year thing, right? And
right,
so
it kind of shows you the pricing right there for Big Daddy tickets. Normally, you're talking $2,000 for tickets worth 50K plus, 100K. I'm sure you don't see many of those, but when you're talking capped at 300, it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, again,
this is serious now.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk like leading out the last few months. Our team like really talked about like, how can we do this successfully and make people happy at the same time? And another good thing about this that there's a lot of tickets, I think even last year, that PSA wouldn't have otherwise seen if we didn't offer on-site authentication and grading for tickets, right? There's a lot of people that aren't like big PSA buffs. There's a lot of people that don't like to put high dollar items in the mail, whatever the case may be. So this kind of just all that drops by the wayside, right? This is your ticket. You can bring it to the show. It's never out of your possession, obviously, unless it's with us. And then you pick it up in person and you go home with it, right? So for the price and the speed and not having to leave your possession, I mean, you can't beat this deal, not in my opinion.
Yeah.
So basically what the process, if you're at the National, you show up, you do print all your printouts for your tickets, you drop it off. I mean, is there usually a better day to do that? How long is it? Usually you wait in line?
Yeah. Did you drop off last year, Sean?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't want to speak for you. A big thing I want to recommend to anybody planning on doing this, please create, like Mike just had the online submission center pulled up. It's already live. The pricing went live just this past week. So you're able to create a national submission form right now. Please print that off and bring it with you. Because back to your question, Mike, like what do you recommend and times and et cetera, it's going to save you a ton of time if you bring the form with you. Otherwise, you have to stand at the tent, wait until one of the laptops open up, create it there.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to do that. There's too much to do with the show, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, have it with you. And then I think, Sean, I mean, tell us your experience last year, but I think it's as simple as you just wait in line, drop it off, and you leave.
Yeah. And on that, I think that if you don't print it out, it's almost impossible to do it there. I mean, you could probably do it at your hotel way easier than doing it on site because the lines are just ridiculous. But get in line early. Obviously, that line doesn't go super fast, and it depends on where you're at. I got in that line early, and it was no problem. That was the first thing I did when I arrived. Got in that line. I think I was probably 10th or 11th in line, and then submitted. Everything was ready. I had already printed everything out. I'd already touched base with you and gone over what I was going to submit. So it was a really smooth process last year for sure.
Yeah. And another thing, while we're on that, if you got, for just the sake of speed and peace of mind, anybody that submits to PSA, I would recommend downloading the PSA app. I think it's a very user-friendly app and a lot of really good notifications. So as soon as you turn in your order and they enter it in, you'll get notified. When it goes to the grading room, you're notified. When it's ready to be picked up, you get a notification on your phone. You can come right to the tent, pick it up. That last year also seemed to not have much of a wait time at all. So, I mean, things are moving.
Yeah.
How does it work on the 4 days? You know, say you show up on a Thursday or Friday and it says, oh, well, it's a 4 business day turnaround. Am I going to get my tickets by Sunday, or how does that usually work?
Yeah. So again, I'll speak to how it went last year. We marketed it the same way. So the turnaround being 4 days is just the length of the national, right? Like internally, those first 2 levels, Express and Super Express, those are, by end of show. So if you submit Wednesday, I didn't see a single ticket last year that was submitted Wednesday or Thursday that wasn't ready until Sunday, right? I would say, again, we're going to have to wait to see how things go last year. If they went, or this year, if things go as smoothly as they did last year, I mean, you were looking at roughly a day or 2 days. I think that was, anybody that submitted would likely agree with that speed. And then the national walkthrough, the high dollar there at the bottom, that's an end of day. Yeah. So before I forget, while we're on that, there's a cutoff time, anything end of day. So that national walkthrough service, this is for ticket grading. We're also offering ticket reholder. We have 3 levels for that as well, which is 75, 100, and 150. Same declared value tiers. All 3 of those are end of day. So if you are submitting anything, any of our ticket services for end of day, the cutoff time, the deadline is noon on that given day. So if the show's open till, I think the show stays open till 6. Does that sound right? 6 p.m.?
It's about right.
Yeah, 6 or 8, something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's on the website, on the homepage too. Just keep that in mind. If you're doing an end of day, you need to get it in before noon on that given day.
So Matt, while we're on that, can you go over again the difference between Reholder and crossover and just straight grading?
Yeah. Actually, let me pull this up real quick, and I can read a little blurb.
Sean, do you plan on submitting any items? Or
I've got a couple. Yeah, I've got a couple.
Reholder.
I know you have a crossover you might want to be interested in.
Well, yeah, we'll discuss that in a minute. I want to get opinions.
I want to discuss that too. No, yeah, let's go over all 4. And I think this is good information for anybody that, maybe just looking for this answer. Maybe they're new to PSA. And this goes not just for the national submission, but all submissions, even to California. So grading is pretty straightforward, right? Like those are your raw tickets that you want authenticated and graded. I get this question all the time. I have for the last year and a half of being at PSA. We don't have any option built into the OSC, the Online Submission Center here, if you choose to have your ticket authenticated only with no numerical grade. Hoping to have that soon, but in the meantime, you guys can request that anyway. If you'd like to put in your notes or comments section of your subform, please grade authentic only, that'll work. If you'd like to put a sticky note on the card saver of the ticket and write, please, no numerical grade, authentic only, that will work. I know it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but however you can get it done. So that's grading. Very simple, raw tickets.
Real quick for the authentic, there's disclaimers now, right? If it's trimmed, you'll write authentic trimmed. What if it's any other thing like taped or residue or anything?
Yeah,
else?
so we might have talked about this last time I was on, but yeah, any old annotation you guys saw where it was like tape, glue residue, anything like that, we don't do that anymore. The only non how do I want to say, the only non-qualifier, like qualifier, when you guys see I think basically the only one we use with tickets is MK for marks, right? Anytime somebody penned the score or wrote a name or whatever. So that's an MK. Outside of that, the only things we use are trimmed, reattached, and reinforced. So all three of those, we recently got rid of putting that word on the flip. So we use a catch-all now for all three of those things, and that is authentic altered. So if your ticket is trimmed or reattached or reinforced, which are all by definition alterations, your flip won't receive a numerical grade, and it will just get authentic altered.
And so, Matt, if you do a reholder, does the old, I guess, verbiage carry over, or do you redo it?
Yeah, 100%. So so you're saying like if you had an old ticket that said like glue residue on the flip, so it would not be on the new flip if you submitted for a reholder. We would update to the current standards and and the processes we use. While we're on reholder, I'll just explain that real quick. So we covered grading. So reholder, easiest thing, you just want to update to the most current lighthouse flip. That's what we call the new flip, with kind of like the fingerprint in the background, and it just, it's more like security protected, has a sleeker look to it. Compare if you have a ticket that was done 15 years ago, obviously the flip's probably a little yellow or a little outdated looking. So if you want a new holder, new flip, that's reason number one for a reholder. Other reasons, your slab is scratched up. It's old. It's been battered and beaten over the years. This is a big thing. I'm not sure too many people know about it. So say you have a PSA 1 ticket and you just don't like that grade. You can submit that ticket that is graded a PSA 1. For example, and reholder can move from a numerical grade to authentic only.
Mm-hmm.
You could get rid, if you're one of the people that I don't like the 1 or 1.5 or 2, sub as a reholder, request authentic only. We can do that. The other big thing with reholder, and I see it all the time, I try to pass this message off as much as I can. If your flip says one thing and there was a milestone attributed on your flip, and say it was a game where another significant milestone or event happened, if you want to switch the verbiage, the thing that pops into my head all the time is the Ryan Sandberg game, right? Real famous game. Willie McGee also hit for the cycle in that game. If you're a Cardinals fan and you submitted that ticket and it says Willie McGee cycle, and then you're a Cubs fan and I want it to say the Ryan Sandberg game, you cannot submit that as a reholder. If you want a different milestone or event attributed on your flip, that must be a review, because the ticket goes through the entire process again, right? With a reholder, we've already confirmed milestone and event. We know that to be accurate. If you want something else, it's going through the entire process of research all over again. So 2 different services, 2 different price points, but please remember that if you want something new on your flip, it is a review.
So question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a ticket that was slabbed, years ago. It's clearly trimmed on the bottom. Somebody cut it just because that's how they preferred it. It doesn't say that on the slab, and you want a review. Is it going to say altered when you get it back?
Yeah, for whatever reason, your ticket had an alteration before we went this route of listing authentic altered for those 3 things. If you sent it in, whether it was a reholder or a review, if we find that the ticket does have an alteration, your flip would now say authentic altered.
Man, that's risky.
It's
well, I have a lot of vintage tickets that were clearly cut at the bottom because that's what they were, and I really don't like it to say that it's altered.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't use that service in that case.
Yeah, and again, I mean, everything is, no matter how a customer looks at it, it's all up to you guys on what you want to do.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good to clarify so we know getting into it.
Yeah. Well, on review real quick. So I talked about Reholder. You can go from numerical grade to authentic only. A review is kind of the flip side of that. So if you have a ticket that is currently in a holder that's authentic only, this is a review as in, i.e. grade review. So if you're like, no, this ticket's pretty good, I think this will grade it at 6, 7, 9, 10, submit it for a review. And then at that point, they can assign a numerical grade to your ticket. That's
Matt, now that you mentioned that, I feel like there's somebody here that feels like they have a very high dollar card that has been undergraded.
A card or a ticket?
Or sorry, ticket.
I mean, look, I don't grade tickets. So if you think that your ticket has been undergraded, you can always submit it for a review to get it, re-examined and possibly a new grade.
So Sean, is there any chance you would do that for your Jackie?
I haven't decided yet. It's a tough one. I'd say it's 50-50 whether it would get a different grade, maybe even less than that. But it's if there was ever going to be a time, this would be it. So I have to consider it. I haven't decided for sure yet.
I feel like you should, because I feel like for sure it would bump higher. And that, I feel like my guess is do you see many, Matt? I feel like that's a big thing in the card world, but in the ticket world, like people trying to bump their ticket to a higher.
Yeah, does that even happen?
A review? Yeah, I mean, it does happen. I'm not going to lie and say it. We get a million of them. I mean, people do submit and they want their grade reviewed, but no, I mean, not a ton.
Don't Touch Greek had a question. Can the grade be lowered or can it only be the same or go up?
Yeah, I mean, the ticket, and I'm not speaking for anything but tickets, right? Anything is possible. It could go up, it could go down. It's a total review. They will review your ticket again and assign what they believe to be the accurate grade for that item. So with staying the same or possibly going up, there's always a chance it could also go down.
Right.
Can you request?
I think we're going to ask the same question. Go ahead.
Say I have a ticket that's a 7. Can I say, hey, don't review it or don't change it if it's going to be less than a 7, or it's the same thing? Like, hey, you sent it to us, we're doing a review. It is what it is. If you get a 4, it's a 4.
See, that I truly don't know. That is honest to God, like customer service question. I don't handle all the behind the scenes type things. I mean, good question. I just don't know the answer to it.
Yeah, so we could presume then that maybe the grader probably doesn't even know what it was before, right? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Well, how does it work? So basically, we would send our PSA in, we wouldn't crack it or anything, and that would be basically the review. You guys would crack it, look at it, regrade it, send it back.
Right. I mean, not entirely different at all than a reholder, right?
Right. And maybe speak on the crossover. Anything we need to know about that?
Yeah, I think crossover is the only thing we haven't touched on. Yeah, that's it for Reholder and review. If you guys have any questions or you think I forgot something.
And so to be clear, Reholder is the lower price point, but review is the same as submitting as a
right, because a review goes through the entire PSA process, right? A Reholder, it's just the slab is looked at. Okay, the milestone check. This is Willie Mays' 200th hit. Okay, checks out. Yeah. Okay, boom, crack it out, get a new flip, put it in a new holder.
And if you do want, sorry for all the questions on this.
No, that's
fine. You do want, for example, this ticket is Jackie Robinson's first hit. It's also Duke Snyder's debut.
Yep.
This is a perfect example of a review. Perfect. I would want Duke Snyder's debut also on there.
Yeah.
Am I risking the grade going down also? If that's all I want?
Yeah, again, a review would go through the entire process again.
Yeah. Okay. It's clear now.
I feel like in the card world, I've heard them talk about where they post. I know you don't know the answer to this question, but maybe something to talk about on Boogers, where they do a review, but say if you want to add info, or they say, hey, don't regrade this or don't do something if it's going to lower the grade. I feel like there's something out there.
And,
So
and there could be. There may
option.
be. I kind of just do my part and move the
Yeah.
item on.
Yeah, understood.
And they said, but how can the grade change if the ticket did not change? So is the grading dependent on the skill of the grader?
I mean, again, kind of the same thing I just talked about, right? I'm not sure on how that works.
It's not his department.
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
it is.
It's authenticator, not grader.
Yeah. I think that's an important clarification that a lot of people just don't understand. They think that anybody who works at PSA does it all. So they can just.
I know.
But
do you think we could get a grader on, Matt, in a future show?
Yeah.
Or something that's kind of higher up?
Anything is possible. I don't know.
Again, he's not a grader.
All right. Speak on crossover for anything we need to know about that.
Yeah. So I think crossover, I hope, is pretty self-explanatory, right? We don't have a ton of options with tickets because historically the only players in the game that I'm aware of, at least, you know, the big reputation names are outside of PSA, obviously, for the sake, is Beckett and then SGC back in the day. I see some random tickets pop up on eBay now from companies I've never heard of. So, but yeah, primarily when we get a crossover, it's either in a Beckett slab or an SGC slab. Another thing I just want people to know, if you have an autograph authenticated ticket only, if it's in the DNA holder, and those are the ones where on the first line it just says ticket. So the ticket has not been authenticated, but it's signed and the autograph is. That is also a crossover. So a DNA slab, a Beckett slab, an SGC slab, and the other slab. That is anything that's currently in plastic that has not already been dual authenticated is available for crossover.
So I have a crossover question for you guys. So should this?
Yes, it should.
Okay,
Yes,
I want pros and cons. Sean, please.
Pros and cons. Well,
so I have Jackie SGC. I'll put it up there again because you don't really see many of these labels. They're very random.
Yeah.
So it's SGC. You know, I bought it off Heritage years ago. They rated A authentic. Of course, SGC doesn't grade tickets anymore. I do like the fact that you can kind of go back and see, like, well, where did this ticket come from? And then it's like, oh, it was bought on Heritage in 2018 or 2019. And that's kind of, you can track it over time, cross it over. You know, now it's in a PSA slab, which I think definitely is more prestigious. We'll have a numerical grade. I'm sure it would be a 1. You know, it might be like a 6 or 7, though. I think it could grade.
Yeah, okay.
No, it'd probably be like a 1, maybe a 2. Pros and cons of doing that, other than doing it for super cheap.
Well, I think that it has to do with the super cheap, but it's also that you will never get another opportunity to do it at a price that you would be willing to pay, because otherwise you're paying $10,000. So if you're ever going to do it, it's now. I guess the con is that you have to carry it with you the entire time you're at the National, and there's some risk involved there.
If you were me, would you definitely do that?
Yes,
I would.
Matt,
I definitely would.
So okay,
I definitely would, and I'd be thrilled for the opportunity.
Yeah.
But you're 50-50 on your end to getting it bumped. Is there a reason you would not want to try to get your ticket grade bumped?
Yeah, just that the risk in carrying it there, you know, traveling with it, also with the $300, you know, it's not nothing, but obviously if I was ever serious about doing it, it would be then. But when I saw Patrick Ryan's get a 2, and I think that it's roughly the same situation. I have it here because I knew this conversation was going to come up. So here's the front, which is way better than 2. The back, if you look at it carefully, you can see, like, right here, there's a stain from where probably glue was removed.
Oh, definitely. It could be a 1 then.
Yeah. So Patrick Ryan's got a 2, and it's the same, and it came out of the same book because his number is the seat number is like 1 off from mine, or maybe 2 off. So There was 4 in a row that were attached to scrapbook, and so they came from the same original source, and probably the same process was used to remove them. And so PSA determined that that one independently was also a 2. So that's the real reason why I would kind of hesitate, because for whatever reason they, determined that stain makes it a 2. And it's consistent. So that's the reason why I wouldn't want to risk the $300, but. And because I really don't care ultimately. I mean, it'd be cool to have a 3 or a 4, something like that. But ultimately, it's not leaving my possession ever. So, who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to fire them off in the comments, and I'll pull up the ones that try to pull them all up, and the ones that look good. People have questions about the process, not so much at the national, but just in general. Like, I know there was a post on Boogers a while back that basically was saying, oh, my ticket is wrong, and they posted the picture of it and they're going to screw it up. Can you kind of walk us through, each one of these processes? Like, I kind of put up one of my orders, like, okay, we get the order, kind of go through each process. Let me pull my little sheet up. So this is basically the PSA order process when you kind of get these and what goes down in each one of these.
Yeah. I mean, that's the pizza tracker, as we call it. I mean, real accurate, right? There's not a whole lot of, there's no secret sorcery going on. So your order is going to arrive. Your order prep is just as it sounds, right? They're unboxing it, entering it into the system. Research and ID. And keep in mind, this pizza tracker is very card oriented. For tickets, research and ID. Before that, it's authentication. That's where it will come to me and Steve Lee, and then research is looped into that also, right? So we're gonna tell you your ticket is genuine or not, identify what it is, full stub, badge, pass, and then we'll research it, right? So everybody's subform has a request. They're already requesting something ahead of time. We're just essentially verifying that it is in fact true. It's shocking how many are not true, but that's just part of it. We verify what goes on with it. So at that point, that's when your guys' flip is made, right, through research. So we just manually create a flip right there. We have it in the system, and then it goes on to grading. I see. Oh yeah, this is your order, right, Mike? You said.
Yeah, this is one of my orders.
Yeah. So currently in grading yours, that's pretty straightforward, right? Just waiting to be assigned a numerical grade. When it gets moved into assembly, I know a lot of you guys, you're like, man, my order's been stuck in assembly forever. Look, with tickets, if you guys have subbed anything in the last year, 2 years, you probably noticed that most of the slabs, a large percentage of the slabs now with tickets have the laminated insert, right? I think it was a frustration for a lot of people were the floating tickets. They used to put tickets in a huge holder, much bigger than necessary. It would float around. There were no rails, nothing keeping it in place from, protecting it and, preserving it for all of time. That's the whole idea behind what we do. So we implemented that on, we have a select few slabs where it's like the default is kind of made already. We essentially get lucky. Wow, this ticket fits this slab perfectly, right? Like if you guys have any full box office tickets, that's one holder in specific where we don't need to laminate because it lays in there perfectly. It's held in place all 4 sides. As you guys know, there are hundreds and thousands of different tickets when it comes to shapes and sizes. They're all different, right? And especially old tickets that were physically torn. I mean, stubs are a gazillion different sizes. So again, we want to keep that in place. So that is why ticket assembly takes longer than card assembly, right? It's not open holder, drop card in holder, close holder, seal holder, gone, right? There's just more to it with tickets. So all of that is what goes into assembly, right? Lamination, sealing, booming, etc. And then grades ready, newer feature. I think if you guys have subbed, you're kind of aware of what goes on. you used to not be able to visually see what your ticket was going to look like in the holder until it was completed with tickets, right? And this is relatively new, just less than a year for sure, maybe less than 6 months. I can't remember the exact date, but yeah, after we get it assembled and it's imaged, you'll get notified that your grades are ready, so you can look at it. I mean, it's kind of good just in case there's an issue with it. And I think that is where a lot of people tend to jump the gun, right? So as soon as your ticket is fully assembled and they image it, you know, when it goes through the quality checks, which you guys see comes after grades are ready. If there's a problem identified, for instance, if you have like an 80 ticket order, right, and we just rattle off 80 flips, don't be shocked if every now and then a flip gets swapped into a different holder. I mean, we're human beings. Of course that's going to happen. So when that goes to the quality check and that's caught, sometimes that image isn't always accurate, right? And then, you know, it takes time to, and I'll use the swap flip example. So that needs to be cracked out. The correct flip needs to be put in. It needs to be reassembled. It needs to be re-imaged. By the time you see your new image, your ticket may have shipped on your pizza tracker, right? So that's why I kind of tell everybody, like, look, be patient. Grades Ready is a nice feature, and 99% of the time, everything is good to go, right? As it should be. But for the one-offs and the anomalies where something happens, just be patient. Wait until you have your ticket in hand. Most of the time, it's going to be exactly how you wanted it. So, yeah, I mean,
So
that's. Oh, go ahead.
is there a way for a customer to clarify that when they do see it before they just without, say blowing you up on social media or something like that?
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, when grades are ready and you see that image, just like when you know how you guys get an email all the time after your ticket moves into grading, it's called review your order. And at that point, you are able to do just that. You'll see what's going to be on your flip, et cetera, et cetera. And there's always a box that you can select that says report error.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, right? Report
Yeah,
error.
yeah. So if you are jumping the gun and you think the end of the world is approaching because your ticket may not look, how you think it'll end up, the report error option is always there.
So that's the way to just do it, and you'd get some kind of email saying it's fine, basically.
Yeah. I mean, again, most of the time, like when you report an error, there is no error, right? Like it's either you guys just can't see what's going on, or the error has been fixed,
Right.
prior to what you're seeing. So you can always report the error. Every error that's reported is looked at and assessed. And again, most of the time we just check it off. It's good. They just can't see it. It's fine.
Does it slow it down? Does it slow it down to report an error?
Yeah, of course it does, right? Because again, I mean, think about, it's no secret if you guys, over 1 million items a month at PSA, right? Like if you guys follow GemRate, that website, they're over 1 million items per month. I mean, it's truly insane, right?
Well, so here's a question: how many tickets does PSA grade a year?
Yeah, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I don't know that. But total items, right? It's crazy. So if you report an error and it's probably okay, someone still needs to go physically find that order and look at it, right? It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Another
thing you want to touch upon, you sent me these pictures about the flip, or not the flip, but the orientation of the ticket.
Yeah. Just so, can you start at the other picture first, Mike? I sent you 2 of them. Yeah. So just recently, for whatever reason, I've seen a lot of questions, whether it be boogers or another talking board, whatever the case may be, about how PSA orients their tickets. So this is old. This is an old standard. If you zoom in a little bit, Mike. So I think a lot of the times you guys would always assume that PSA orients every ticket to the left. And this would be an example of that. I consider orienting it to the left to where if you turn it to the left, a horizontal ticket, the flip would be on the right side, just like we have in this example. So the reason why we do not holder this ticket to the left and do every ticket this way anymore is, stop right there, Mike. you guys read target field and season ticket hold. You see how that is upside down when it's oriented like this. So if you move to the next picture, Mike, you'll see it's obviously, just rotated around 180 degrees. Like that, in my opinion, and the team's opinion, is how a ticket should be holdered. I don't want any ticket. If you have a horizontal ticket and anything can be read from left to right and right side up, that's how your ticket's going to be oriented in the holder, right? I think this just appeals so much better. I don't want to look at a ticket and read target field upside down when it doesn't have to be, right? The way that this ticket is holdered, nothing on this ticket is upside down.
Yeah.
So and look, I know it may be frustrating a little bit from an aesthetic standpoint. Like say the Twins printed their ticket either vertically or, if you had this ticket oriented to the left from the year before or the year after, maybe they had a different design. I know when you're going to display them next to each other, you're going to say, well, this is to the left and this is to the right, what the heck? But again, every ticket is unique, and that's how every ticket is going to be treated.
Yeah, you can't get too caught up in the details of it. I think the vast majority of people display them upright like that.
Sure.
And so it's whatever looks best when it's upright to me.
Yeah.
That's what I would want.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of tickets are vertical, and then there's obviously a ton of tickets like that are horizontal for the most part. So again, I think, I'm not patting ourselves on the back here, but it's attention to detail. It's just getting the little thing right. And I think that goes a long way. That's how it should be holdered.
Yeah.
Here's some questions we had. For a $300 fee, is a super high value ticket insured against loss or damage by PSA? Good question.
Again, I'm sure that just like a normal submission, we're responsible while we have the item. That's why we image everything that comes in, and God forbid anything happened to your ticket at the show. My assumption is that it's no different than when you submit it to California, right?
I am from Germany. Would like to know if PSA has a working headquarters in Europe to submit stuff to. They had it last year, but stopped accepting new tickets cards.
I do not know for sure, but I don't believe so.
UK.
Yeah.
Out in the cold.
Matt, what happens? I forgot, and I think I know the answer to this, but let's say you are not going to be there Sunday and you have to pick it up. What's the process then? If you submit, but you're not going to be there when it's ready at the National. You're going to go back home on Saturday or something.
I mean, my recommendation, obviously, if you're not going to be there Sunday, is to get it in as early as you possibly can, right? Try to drop it off Wednesday or Thursday, and it should be done before Sunday. If your order for whatever reason isn't ready until Sunday and you're not there Sunday, they'll ship the order back to you.
Mm-hmm. And I guess you probably don't know. I'm just curious about the time that takes, but I think that it would be pretty quick.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, I don't think that happened at all last year to where an order just didn't get done or that person wasn't available to pick it up. So I don't know the process. Again, this is all still so new. I only have 1 year of, just last year of seeing how it worked. And I mean, thankfully it went well, right? And we didn't have any of those hiccups. And I don't expect to have that again this year.
Okay. Excellent.
If PSA is going to give an explanation for the grade on the ticket like they're doing now on cards.
Yeah, there's been chatter about that. I'm not sure, if and when that ever becomes a reality, but why not, right? I get it. The feedback from the card side so far, I know they just rolled that out a week or two ago, has been good, right? I mean, people want to know why they received a certain grade. So if we see it on tickets in the future, that would be great, right? I think everybody would agree on that.
Yeah, that'd be excellent. So push for that.
Yeah. All right.
Another one. Curious as to how many tickets Matt gets that are not authentic, and if he has any crazy ticket submission stories that have come across his desk.
Yeah, I think that. No, I'm not going to give you a number on that because I can't. I think Steve Lee and I have both seen a lot of funny things. If you think that fake tickets don't exist, you're nuts. They do exist. Anything that's going to generate any amount of money is always going to be faked, right? It's like that in any collectible. So, yeah, we see them. Yeah, we do our best to catch them and not put them in the holder. So they're out there. Maybe a story for another day, but no specifics and no certain amount. But yeah, they're out there.
If you see one where you guys are like, wow, this is a super high dollar ticket and we're not 100% or just something about it, I mean, is it like a big huddle down? I mean, how does that process work where it looks, it could be fake, or I mean, this could be a really good fake or?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's, you only have, if you're thinking about it logically, you only have three possibilities, right? The ticket is real, the ticket is not real, or the ticket may not be real. So if your ticket may not be real and we know it to be a reproduction for certain, it's not going in the holder, right? It'll be rejected. We're always going to err on the side of caution. We're not going to risk putting a maybe in a holder, right? And there are, I mean, quite literally millions of different tickets, right? And you learn with experience, right? Like I think Steve Lee would say the same thing. Like we've both seen a lot and then started the job and we continue to see more, but we just become more knowledgeable every day because we're always seeing something new, right? So physical exemplars, pictures are the best, right? That's what you go off of, understanding, paper stock and print and ink and everything else that goes into it. But yeah, I mean, no, if it's questionable, it's not getting done.
Will tickets be able to be vaulted?
Are they currently not able to be vaulted?
I think are they not, Sean?
I don't know.
I think they are.
I don't deal with any vaulting. So
story about it where that guy had that Jordan 63 that he bought on eBay and sent it to the vault. So I thought they were able to be vaulted.
Yeah. And look, I would love to answer all of these questions. I would. It's just I stay in my lane. That's just call PSA and ask. I'm not sure. I thought they were. I don't know. I don't use the vault personally.
Yeah.
Any big PSA things we need to know about for the national or anything else randomly coming up?
No, I mean, national has all our focus right now. We're ready for it. We're excited. Just to touch on like some basic things that, again, for the national or for a submission to California, remember 30, 30, 30 for all three lines on your PSA flip, right? Like 30, 30, 30 is the character amount per line. And yes, spaces are included. And I know some of you guys are, you want to put the Da Vinci Code novel request on your sub form, right? Where it's 9 lines long. And I get it. Sometimes games are just jam-packed full of great milestones and events. But as you can see, like, we can only accommodate so much. The font is the font, right? The lines are the lines. We have 3 lines. So keep 30, 30, 30 in mind when you're filling out your submission form. And of course, keep in mind that line 1 is always going to be year and home team, and line 2 is always going to start with the score. So that's what you guys have to work with.
Yeah.
And then also to go along with that, we have to make a choice when it's in the building, right? So if somebody wants so-and-so's number hit, so-and-so's number home run, so-and-so's hit by pitch, whatever, they have 4 or 5 things they're asking. It's not my or Steve Lee's responsibility to just guess what is most important to you as a person, right? So if you have 5 different things and we can only accommodate 3, we're going to take the first 3 you listed on that line, and that's what you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a good one, Matt. And most people don't have 4, but sometimes you do have a couple things, and one's more important than the other, but you'd like them both to be on there, and one is really difficult to describe. I personally always just kind of do my best to describe it and then trust you to get what I was trying to say and then put it down the right way, because I think that you do a really good job of it. I mean,
I appreciate that. I think Steve and I both are very, very OCD about, like, look, if we can do it, we'll make it work. We'll get it on there the best we can. So
I submitted one that it's in the process now, and 30 some tickets, and I had a few in there that I made up the line and I saw what you put on it, and excellent, all of them, loved them.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Another one. Where will you be situated at the National? You know your spot yet?
Yeah, I'll be in the PSA tent. I'll be working. I'm sure there will be. I mean, maybe a lull in between. I'd like to get out and like walk around in some downtime when I can. Maybe early Wednesday or later on in the days. But I'll be out and about. Are you setting up, Mike?
Yeah, I'll be setting up.
Yeah, I'd like to come by just like the rest of you guys, and I'll swing by the table and say hello. But yeah, if you guys would like to say hi, I mean, as long as it's not insanely busy at that given time. I mean, stop by the PSA booth, say hello. I did that all last year. Came out and said hello to everybody.
Will you guys be taking tickets at the upcoming Fanatics Festival?
No, I mean PSA may have a presence there just as a company, but no, I mean no on-site authentication and grading for tickets at that event.
Okay. You know, I had some items. Like I had a Reholder one. I'd be like, well, what would be the best way if I turn this one in? This is the let me pull it up. This is the Fraser Ali. You know, I bought it. It was the punch cancel, which I assume you guys aren't doing anymore, right?
No, we I think I know I've covered this a few times to different people, but punch canceled is no longer a term that we use at PSA. If you have a full ticket with a punch in it, we still we designate that as just punched. I just canceled. There's a whole reason behind it. Like once you punch a ticket, like you canceled the ability for that ticket to be resold, right? So on that front, it makes sense. But I think the nuance and any new collector that I've had people message me, why would you put canceled on this flip? This game wasn't canceled. It's like, well, yes, I understand that. So it's just kind of understanding the definition. I don't think anybody could misunderstand punched. And again, that's only on full tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, to your question, if you sub that as a reholder,
Right.
yeah, it would no longer be on there. Again, anytime you reholder it, you're going to get, outside of what matters, obviously, event info. If you have any other like designation or qualifier like that, you're going to get what is our current day standard.
Right. But it would still say you guys still use the wording punched.
Yeah, if that's a full ticket, I didn't see the entire thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a full.
Yeah.
Is it, am I just remembering it wrong? Did they used to say not good for admission also?
Never on a punch.
Never?
I mean, if you had, I mean, you see approved sometimes that were punched just to, you know, help easily, more easily identify that it was approved. But a valid punch ticket, they never said not valid.
Okay.
And then if I wanted it graded also, because right now it says authentic, I would just do a review basically.
Yeah, if you wanted a numerical grade, that'd be a review, and that's two birds with one stone, right? That's a grade and a new flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's, you know, it's interesting because Beckett and you guys have your differences. Like, you know, Beckett grades a little higher. You know, they'll put staple, I think pinhole, and maybe I can't remember what else. And then, but then they'll do the numerical grade. I know you're not into the grading, but like when there are holes, it's got to be taken into account.
Yeah, I think the entire ticket is always taken into account, but you know, you grade what's physically there, right?
Right.
How do you grade a punch hole? The hole is, I mean, there's nothing there. It's gone, right? There's no physical ticket there. So, but again, grading thing, I do think that, look, what we do here, I have no interest in pointing out every flaw. Right? If there's a staple hole, we have a grading standard for it. If there's a pinhole, we have a grading standard for it, right? Why would we want to put pinhole on the flip? Like the grade is going to reflect any deficiency or flaw with your ticket, right? That's the whole idea behind grading.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just better to let your eyes do the trick with that, right?
Sounds good. Let me see. You know, so what you've been at? How long you been at PSA now?
A year and a half-ish.
Mike, you froze up.
You see me all right?
Sean froze up. To me,
Sean's frozen. All right, Sean's back.
Yeah.
I had a question. How, I know you're a big ticket collector. How is your collection or how you collect changed since you've been at PSA for over a year?
I has stayed. I'm personally pretty narrow in what I collect, right? I know that's not typically how people do things. I know people are just pretty broad, right? They like to collect all sorts of different things, but I mean, 98% of my tickets are all Chicago Cubs related in one way or the other, right? Home and away games, of course, but yeah, I mean, that's what I like. I'm a Cubs fanatic. A lot of memories from my childhood are Cubs related moments, and then even prior to me being born, right? It's just the history of the Cubs is what I'm interested in. So I haven't really went off the beaten path at all. There's always another one out there to be found. So that's what I collect.
Has anything surprised you since you've been there that like, wow, I can see why this has been what people collect, or wow, I can't believe people collect this these type of tickets or anything? Just, you know, so you've been there for a while now. It's had to kind of change your perspective on a few things.
Yeah, it's just there's peaks and valleys of it, right? I think there's a lot of like fads that come and go. I mean, some stay, right? It's just a lot of tickets you're always going to see, right? Super Bowl and World Series and firsts and lasts. Like, I feel like those are always debuts, of course. Like, those are always going to be, those are going to remain strong forever, right? There's just a lot of collectability in that sense. But movie tickets, entertainment tickets, Ravel and his team from Collect had asked me about that a few months ago, and they're like, what has surprised you the most? And I said, just the rise in movie tickets. I think that 3, 4, 5 years ago, nobody submitted movie tickets ever, right? And Japanese movie tickets, you know, my understanding, their culture is just to keep the Japanese movie tickets are very nice aesthetically. They always are like colorful and have a great design. Typically, like the movie poster in America for forever, like you never got that, right? You got some crappy piece of almost like carbon receipt paper where it just has the name of the movie and the time. So yeah, they were highly collectible, and again, their culture just kept a lot of them. And then with that, yeah, I mean, American movie tickets have jumped right into that as well. There's a ton of them. We ran an entertainment special at PSA in March or April, I believe, and I mean, incredible the amount of movie tickets and concert tickets that we got. A ton.
Wow. Well, Mark says go Cubs.
That's right.
Tom
Mark
says show us that Corey Patterson debut.
Corey Patterson. I'm sure I have one too. I just that's funny.
Mark asks, has PSA graded many Caitlin Clark tickets?
I will say, yeah, you guys will see the population on Caitlin Clark just shoot through the roof. I feel like that's all I've seen lately. Just a lot of Caitlin Clark.
Interesting.
Do you have the 2 Bueller ticks?
I do. I have a full season ticket of the September 24th game, and then a box office stub from the June 5th. But yeah,
which one do you think is better? Why don't you settle that to?
I mean, I think Ravel and everybody. Is he listening? Is there like, do you know if he's?
I can't tell. No, I can't tell who.
He pumps the June 5th game. It's like, my opinion. I'm all about the September 24th game because that's when Ferris was there. Yeah. That's when he was there, and they filmed the scene for the movie. I mean, the June 5th. The June 5th is cool because it was the game playing on the TV in the movie. But I mean, what? Yeah. Like, yeah. They're both very cool. I would definitely choose the 924.
To me, it's always lean towards the one where if you actually had that ticket and were at that game, it might have meant something. But the one that was playing on the TV, nothing.
It's coincidental, and that's why ticket collecting, I think, is so cool, for lack of a better word, right? There's always another avenue to explore, and that just gives you another ticket to try to find. But no, 924 by a mile.
Good, settled.
Yeah, just my opinion.
Well, I wanted to show some items. I was going through my tickets. I was like, man, I may try to do some of these and maybe give some people some ideas of, okay, well, what would be like a good things to try to review or cross over. So I was going to show a few of the ones I had. So I had this one. This was actually, I think, I can't remember if Sean was part of this. You know, like it's a Beckett, Larry Bird autograph ticket, but somebody just got the autograph authenticated. So it seemed like almost like a no-brainer.
There's a crossover.
Yeah. This one, maybe it's the Nolan. The auto, I think, is a 10, but it's authentic. The ticket could be a little higher.
That looks
See? You gotta look closely on that because if it's a cut bottom, you're gonna get authentic altered.
Oh, yeah. See, that's why.
Yeah, that's
So
why
let
we
me-
did this show.
Yeah, look, I know I'm sure there's a million. Let me touch on this. The trimmed, we always used to just give you authentic only and then annotate trimmed on the flip, right? The reason that we do not do that anymore is that there's just flat out too many people intentionally trimming their tickets. Like Steve and I would see a ticket sell on eBay in boogers, and then 3 and 4 weeks later, we would see it in person and it wasn't the same, right? So look, we would catch trimmed anyway, and we would put trimmed on the flip, and you wouldn't get a numerical grade. So I'm not sure. I can't put myself in anybody else's shoes and try to understand why people do the things they do. To be quite frank, I don't care. But we're not going to just if that's the case where people are just like, okay, we'll accept trimmed, like we don't care. We're not going to bother with it, right? Like to purposely alter a ticket and submit it for whatever reason, whether you're trying to get one by us or whatever the case may be. So now it's a catch-all. So now if you have an alteration, it's going to say authentic altered. So there's no more trimmed, right? So it's because of that reason. There's just too big of an uptick in that happening.
And I'm assuming, like you're talking about, Sean, hey, make sure it's not trim. Like trim it'd be just pretty sharp on the bottom, right? If it's kind of jaggedy.
I think it's pretty easy to tell by looking at it. Yeah, if it's straight across, obviously somebody cut it at some point.
Right.
And look, guys, I get it. Of course I get it, right? I know, especially vintage tickets, they were just put in a scrapbook or stored, or they were like cut to fit a page. I get it. You know, a lot of the times there was no ill intent, right? There's no ill will. I totally understand it. But when you move to authentication and grading, there's no guess on what the intention was, right? Like condition is the condition. So if the ticket has been trimmed, whether innocent or guilty, the fact remains the ticket is still trimmed, right?
Yeah, so, I think that the big issue is the term trimmed,
right?
Because it is so negatively associated with cards. Right. If you have a trimmed card, and PSA is known for cards, no matter how many tickets they do, it's a card grading.
Sure.
Anybody who's ever cards, if they have a trimmed card, it's nothing. It's a poison pill.
Yeah.
And so if you came up with a different word that indicated the same thing that was never used before, then it would probably be fine.
Yeah.
Because I don't care that it's trimmed. I really don't on those vintage, like the old tickets that people cut to put in scrapbooks. But I just don't like trimmed because I did collect cards and that's something you avoid.
Yeah.
So
I mean, remember that's gone. Trimmed is gone now, but now it's altered.
Oh, I'm sorry. Altered. Yeah, right. Yeah. Both terms. Altered is the bad word for cards.
Sure.
Yeah.
A few. I think I had one or two and like typical one, just a Manning debut. I think the ticket it says authentic, but it's like, man, I think I'd almost rather have one that says 3 or 4. So
yeah.
And then like I said, I may try to bump. I don't know. I probably won't. This is a Wilt 100. It's really nice. And it's a 3. And if it bumps,
what does the back look like? Is there something on the back?
No, like I mean, if you want to, I should give you a good look. So it's a 3. If you want to get a real good look at it.
Wow.
See the bottom.
Yeah.
And then the back is
that's really nice. What is there like creases in it?
No, and if it bumped, it'd be the highest graded. I mean, there may be some tiny little streaks on the very top if you see that on by the one.
What's the number? What's the number on the serial number? Is it a low number?
It's 6. Starts with a 6.
Yeah, it seems like the 6s was when they were really grading tough in the 6s, and then all of a sudden they started. I don't know. I feel like that could easily get a 6 nowadays.
You think?
Based on what I've seen, I obviously haven't seen it in person. I've just seen like an image of it.
I don't know. Matt's not an auto expert, but I feel like PSA would be real hesitant to be like, "Oh yeah, this $high ticket's going from a 3 to a 6."
Yeah,
I think at the most they bump it a 1, or 1 more, like a 4 or a 5. A few other questions. Dennis said 6'5" equals principal Ed Rooney at Pizza Place. Cubs on TV. True, not as cool. 924, the biggie talking about.
Yeah, now you're talking, Dennis. That's right.
What's a ticket that's made you say, wow?
A lot. I mean, I thought the last year at the National, I was just shocked to see the 1969 Apollo NASA pass. We had pass number 1 come in, like the first pass issued. That was probably the one recent off the top of my head. I mean, look, there's a ton of wow tickets, but I like to see the things that make me say wow are usually things that I've never seen before, and like you're probably not going to see again. Like pass number 1, obviously, there's just only one of those. The Jackie debuts and all that, like, look, they're cool, but I think I've seen 3 of them now, right? It's a wow every time, right? I mean, I get it, but it's the stuff that's just incredibly rare. So,
if anybody has any more questions, feel free to shoot them out. Kind of winding down here a bit. Mike, can you give us a preview of what you'll have for sale? I think we'll probably do at least one more show before the National where we'll go over everything, and I'll show some of the bigger things that I plan on bringing. Anything else you wanted to touch on, Matt, or any questions you had, Sean?
Matt, are you going to be at the meetup?
Friday night.
Yeah, the meetup is Friday night.
Yeah. Friday night. Maybe not trade night, I think, which is Saturday. But yeah, meetup for sure on Friday. I'll be there.
Excellent.
One thing I just thought of, guys, not unlike California, if you have a dual service ticket, dual meaning you want the autograph and ticket authenticated or graded, there's a 30% premium on those prices, just like there is on a normal order. So instead of 100, 200, and 300, it'll obviously, there you go, Mike, there it is. 130, 260, 390. So just so you guys know that ahead of the time.
Yeah.
One of our favorite content consumers, Feed the Cat. I came in a bit late. Did you discuss the introduction of the Negro League data into all the all-time stats and how that will change ticket?
Yeah. No, good question. I'm actually surprised I didn't think about bringing this up before the show. So look, we're not going to change. I don't think we can change, right? We can't. A ticket, I want everybody to look at it the same way I look at it, right? In this specific statement. You had that ticket on your person at that date. What did you see? What did that ticket represent in that moment in time, right? So think about Pete Rose all the time, right? It was 41-91, 41-92. Well, we miscounted Cobb. No. The 1985 Reds ticket is when everybody in that place celebrated Pete Rose becoming the all-time hit king, right? So this isn't the Negro Leagues, their numbers being implemented. It's really not unlike, from a statistical standpoint, it's like all of the old players, right? Whether it's like Hannes Wagner or Ty Cobb or anybody that played 100+ years ago, their Baseball Reference and Retro Sheet is constantly updating their player profiles. Oh, they did actually get a hit in August of 1905. It's like, okay, thanks. That doesn't help us, right? I understand that you want to keep peeling back the layers and having the most accurate research possible, but what did that ticket represent in that moment in time? So, I mean, look, Negro League tickets are impossible to find with a date, right? There's so few of them. If that question is more related to, once they integrate it into Major League Baseball, if that's going to affect totals, I mean, no, we're not going to be able to do that, right?
But if with the new totals, you would be able to call it out if, like say this player would have their 3,000 hit, including their Negro League totals, right?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had to deal with that because it just happened, right? The integration of 2 leagues just happened from the statistical standpoint. If we do, we'll just have to see how it goes, really, right? Like if we can make some suggested verbiage on the flip about, I don't know if it's Negro League included or whatever the case may be. We'll have to talk through it and think through it. I think when it does happen and we're put on the spot to do it, it's hard to get ahead of it because I can't give you a blanket answer of yes, we're going to recognize all, no, we're not going to recognize any, right? I think that in certain situations it can be done and others it can't. So we'll put an announcement out when we get to that.
Good stuff.
Well, I think we've kind of covered all the bases. I don't know if anybody has anything left. But if not, Matt, I appreciate you coming on and sharing all your wisdom. And it's almost fun to hear about PSA. It's almost like a black box. You just don't know. Sometimes a lot of people, I think, don't know what's going on in that world. And it's great to have somebody that comes on that can represent PSA and give us all the info that, everybody wants to hear.
Yeah, no, happy to do it. I think a lot of people enjoy your guys' show. I know I watch too. So if this can get the word out for the national and provide a little bit of what we'll be doing there and just what we're doing overall, happy to come on and talk about this stuff.
One last question. Will PSA get rid of the barcode on the flip to add another line for stats?
I don't believe there's any plan to do that right now.
All right. That was it. Final question. Sean, do you have anything else?
Nothing else. Very much appreciated, Matt.
Yeah, you guys got it. Thank you.
All right, Matt. Thanks for coming on. And like I said, we'll probably do another one before the national. So be posting on Instagram and all that fun stuff. But everybody, thanks for watching.
All right. See you next month.
All right. Have a good one.